going on? What's going on? What's going on? My name is ViceVestra. Today we're going to be talking about sobriety and how hard it is to quit smoking marijuana and the things you might go through when you're smoking marijuana, the things you might experience when you're trying to stop smoking marijuana, etc. So now, for me personally, I've been struggling with smoking weed for about, you know, 6 years or so. I started when I was like 15. Um, it's all a fun experience when you're starting out. It gets dull when you grow up, and it gets really dull, right? Because things are only very fun when you experience it with other people. And I can say the same for sobriety, right? Sobriety is only fun when you're experiencing it with people that you love, with people that you know are just like you as well. And that is basically what keeps most people going when it comes to anything you really do in life. If you're a mechanic and all of your friends are mechanics and all you guys talk about is cars, then yeah, of course you're going to be very well versed and a professional in mechanics and just cars in general. But if you don't have a group that can kind of put you on that path, set you straight, and make sure that you're constantly, trying to push the boundaries of the path that you're going through. The only boundary you're going to push is how much more weed can I smoke in a single day, right? The only boundaries you're going to push is how much weed can I roll up in this joint. And like to a certain extent, yeah, it can be fun, but I enjoy sobriety. I enjoy how my mind works when it's not operating on these different things. And it's something that I told myself when I was around like 13, 14, and I still haven't smoked or drank or anything like that. It's it was something that I thought to myself long ago, and then over time it's just something that you forget, right? You can forget who you are at points, and you can forget like what is your ultimate goal, because if you're a person on a mission, if you're a person trying to achieve something with your life, then you at least have to have some sort of goal. And it's hard to have these goals when you're constantly smoking and then being distracted by, like the next best thing. And next best thing is always going to be like, oh, this $1,000 course, or, like what's going to get me paid tomorrow. And then you're kind of in this constant cycle of like, oh, you don't want to, go to school because it's too much effort, but you don't want to go to work because, you're just trying to chill, have an off day, and whatever. It all gets repetitive. At some point in your life, you're going to want to have something to stick with that is ultimately beneficial for you. And over time, as you start developing more and more habits and more like of things that you want in life, the less the less you're going to want weed, because you understand in the back of your mind and your subconscious that it's not helping you at all. And it is pretty hard to get off of because, you know, a lot of times we like to we like to just not think about that fact. We like to not think about how, oh, like it's not affecting me in any certain way. Like I can still have these vast dreams and be high and whatnot. And yeah, that's for certain people. If you're a person with little to no kind of surrounding of any people that are enjoying sobriety with you, if all you're surrounded by is people that smoke weed and like, hey, can I come to your house to smoke weed, or hey, can I, like, then those are just the people that you're going to be around consistently. And if you're not consistently around people that enjoy sobriety, then of course it's going to be that thought loop of just, oh, what can I do to cure my boredom? It's not going to be going on a run. It's not going to be, doing some exercise. It's not going to be, just doing anything else other than smoking weed, because all you can think of is just chilling in bed, watching some shows, smoking weed, chatting shit with the boys, right? Or with your homegirls. It's it can get quite repetitive when you want to start a career, when you want to do something with your life, because ultimately, if you have drug tests that you need to pass, it's going to be a point of contention with your employers. It's going to be a point of contention with your parents. Even if they enjoy you smoking weed, even if you smoke weed with your parents, it's like sometimes you got to ask yourself, like, do I want to end up like my mom? Do I want to end up like my dad? And most of the times when you're scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, like, you're gonna be bombarded with a lot of different people like showing off their success. And if you want that kind of success too, like, it's gonna be something that you have to give up, at least for a little while. Of course, a lot of people think like, oh, I can't stop smoking weed for the rest of my life because, like, it's scary and whatever. But just try being sober first. Try being sober. Just try it, because I'd argue more people than you think are addicted to weed, right? More people than you think are fighting this battle by themselves, and they fight it by themselves because they feel as though they'll get judged by their own friends for not wanting to smoke weed, and that's fine, but it's just, we need to come to an understanding, that and a mutual understanding for society in general, because for the past 15 years, all we've got is just studies saying how, like, oh, weed's good, weed doesn't do anything bad, like, it's all fine and dandy, there's no withdrawals, there's no this and that, like, when in reality there's plenty of downsides that comes from smoking weed. And it's the reason why I have to take artichoke and ginger root extract. I'm not even sponsored or anything like that, but I just take these on a daily basis because I have SIBO. And I wouldn't have gotten SIBO if it wasn't for weed. And SIBO is basically just like, you're kind of nerfed. Like me, like, you see how I'm like, I try and work out, I try and do all these things. I think, especially with smoking weed and SIBO in general, like, keeps a lot of the things that you try and digest, you have indigestion, you have nutrient deficiencies, you have constipation and all these other things that just come with smoking weed. Smoking weed disrupts your microbiome, it disrupts your gut health. So yeah, you're not going to be able to digest things better. You're not going to be able to, kind of move the way you want. You might not be able to lose the weight the way you want. See, right now I'm 201, and last weekend I had a little food binge, and now I got all the way back to 206, 207, and just now I'm getting back to 201 and getting back to the 190s, and that's just, and I've done that through fasting, through intermittent fasting, eating only one meal a day. That's kind of like the things that you have to do in order to counteract these symptoms. And like, once I get down to 175 to 180 or something like that, then the symptoms will be less exaggerated. But the reason I say this is because it's kind of like a snowball effect, right? You don't really realize a lot of these things are happening until you start paying attention to them. So you don't realize how far away you're straying from your goals until you start actually paying attention to your progress in said goals. Now, it's hard to pay attention to the progress in your goals when you're constantly smoking. And this is all from experience. I'm not just talking out of my ass here. Like, this is all from experience. There's a reason why I have these supplements. There's a reason why I talk about this stuff, because my experience is just, disappointing people because I'm not on time for certain things, and disappointing people because I haven't been able to, keep my word on a lot of different things, right? Um, and that's just, and if you want to be a man of your word, then just become a man of your word. And if you're a man of your word, then most likely you're not going to be smoking weed, because a lot of times it hinders your ability to keep deadlines. It hinders your ability to get your work done, even if you think it doesn't. It does. And in a very drastic way as well. So, as much as I like to feel as though, like, oh, like it makes me feel good, does all these different things, the brain fog, like, even me just trying to make a coherent point right now is just so, feels as if it's a daunting task because of the fact that, all I've ever done was smoke, and I haven't really, I'm trying to go out of my way and make these videos just based on the fact that, I get to talk more. I get to try and understand who I am as a person a lot more. And it's hard to do that with full transparency because, especially with weed, if you're anxious, you're going to get more anxiety. You're going to get this feeling as if, like, nobody's going to accept you. Nobody's going to find any meaning in what you say. And it's hard for you yourself as a person to find any meaning in your own life as well. So with that, I mean, it's hard. It's hard in general to get off of weed. But once you find a purpose, once you find something that you have to live for, and if what you have to live for is just simply wanting to help others in the same position that you're in right now, in the same position that I'm in, then yeah, then that's something you can definitely live for. That's something that is worth living for. I think of all the trials and tribulations that I've been through in my life, and I think as long as I push past this, then I'll have a story to tell somebody that's going through the same thing, and they'll be able to think, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. All it takes is sharing complete hope. Just share complete hope. Because if you're not sharing hope, then you're sharing dystopian thoughts, and that's just, it's the reverse snowball effect. Because if you try and give hope to somebody else, then you're more than likely going to give more hope to yourself. And if you're not giving hope to yourself, then you're sure as shit not giving hope to anybody else. And I think, of course, ultimately the world would be better off if we were all hopeful for what the future has to hold. It doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter, like, all the bad things that are going on in the world right now. It just matters, and it starts with you. So if you want people around you to be more hopeful, if you want people around you to feel as though there's something to look forward to in life, then it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort to push aside those, those bad thoughts and think, regardless, it's all going to be okay. And for me, it's harder to do that when you're on weed. You're more anxious, you're more paranoid about what the future has to hold. When in reality, you're most likely young, you're most likely, not a piece of shit. And you're most likely have something special in the future for you to do. But right now, it's very hard to think in that way. And for most people that are on weed, it is very hard to think in that way because most of their life is just shuttered in this, like, kind of tunnel vision where it's just constantly thinking about where you are right now. And that's fine. A lot of people say, like, oh, think in the present. But you have to think in the present, it coupled with also knowing what your future goals are going to be. So as much as you might feel like, okay, it doesn't matter right now, I'm not a piece of shit, I'm not a complete waste of my life, you also have to think, like, what is the next step that I'm going to take in order to not be a complete waste of my life? And part of that is just knowing that you have to step up. And that can be daunting for somebody, or that can be inspiring for somebody. But if not you, then who? Seriously, if not you, then who? Yeah, there has to be that kind of thought process where like you just have to think constantly like there is nobody else going to come save me, and there is nobody going to come save me. Like there was never going to be this person that comes and saves me from all the bad decisions that I've made in my life. But then it all comes down to you. All that responsibility comes down to you. And that might feel daunting, but once you implant in your mind that, hey, this is who I'm going to be and this is who I want to become, then everything else just wipes away. Because as long as you have that end goal in mind, then you have at least something to work towards too. If you have something to work towards, then you're okay with, even if it doesn't happen in your lifetime, you're okay with the fact that you at least tried. And it takes a valiant effort. It takes quite a lot of effort to know that, because I'm me, I'm going to be okay. And I think part of that comes with, knowing that you have the charisma, knowing that you have, the talking ability in order to at least communicate with people your situation. Because it's not like you're just going to get help from nowhere. But at least, you get kicked out, you call the cops or something like that. And, speak in a nice manner, speak in a calm, collective tone. You can actually try and find some shelter. And then once you find some shelter, whatever habits you might have, try and go to a rehab or something like that. Just as long as you have a roof over your head, as long as you have something over your head that's keeping you going to the next day, as long as you have people around you in a community, then you'll at least be able to start from somewhere and start over again. Because you need to show true, genuine remorse for all the past, things you might have done. And it is somewhere that weed can lead you. Weed could lead you to homelessness. It's a very expensive habit. And a lot of people don't like to think that. A lot of people, that's why people would say, weed's a gateway drug. Because, well, it's not the fact that it was a gateway drug to many other drugs. It's just the fact that once weed gets too expensive, then you move to something cheaper. Like, for me, I do nicotine pouches, right? These are Zemos, better than Zins. If you want an alternative to Zins, then yeah, Zemos are pretty good. If you can't find them, they're somewhere online probably. Come in 8 milligrams too. They're pretty nice. And I don't have any of them in right now, but it's just kind of like a testament to the fact that you'll need something else. And most people, when they go out to the street and when everything seems hopeless, they're just going to go immediately to the first thing they can find. And it really can be a wild ride. And but that's just because they have no hope. So we need to develop a more hopeful community, a more hopeful population. And obviously it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow. But as long as we keep our minds set onto being hopeful and making sure that everything we do is in order to get to that point, then yeah, I think it'll be very easy to live with yourself. So as much as I rambled on, which I usually do and I can do for hours, it's really just a matter of what you want to do in life. What you want to do in life, what you know is not helping you with that. And also knowing that no matter what happens, you're going to do everything that you can to get there. So once you have those three things, you'll be rid of your anxiety. You'll be rid of your anxiousness and your paranoia from the weed. Because even if you're feeling this paranoia, then more than likely, at some point you're going to stop smoking weed. At some point you're going to realize enough is enough. Even if it's not today, even if it's not tomorrow, even if it's not in 2 weeks, a month, a year, at some point you're going to realize, like, okay, that's it. I need to get my shit together. And then in the end, you'll have a story to tell for your kids, for your community, and you'll have a grand life. Not one that you wanted, but one that you can accept. So, I hope this video helped you out with anything that you're going through right now. I think if you're going through these struggles, I just really hope I helped you out. I really hope that helped you make a better decision today. I hope whatever endeavor that you're going through, you achieve. Whatever endeavor you want to take, you go ahead and ride it out to its fullest. So, enjoy the rest of your day, gang. Peace out. Make sure you subscribe and like if I helped you out with anything. Appreciate it.